UFC Noche, Silva versus Diego Lopes is going down this weekend. And in this video, I'm going to go over the entire card and tell you some good bets that we may be able to place. So this is a full card breakdown. If you guys want to see more full card breakdowns from me, make sure you like and subscribe to my YouTube channel so I know you're watching. So as you can see to the right of me, Silva versus Diego Lopes. That's a good fight. And don't worry, be patient. We're going to get to that fight. But we're going to start with the prelims, boys. And as I said, I haven't done a full card breakdown like this in a long time outside of my community show, Parlay Madness. So if you do want full card breakdowns from me, as opposed to just the regular main card breakdowns that I have been doing over the last year or so, then let me know in the comments, because I want to know if you guys like the full card breakdown stuff or you like the highly edited main card only breakdown. But yeah, first fight of the night is Daniil Donchenko versus Rodrigo Sezinando. So this is an Ultimate Fighter fight, boys. I'm going to bring Tapology up as well, and we can go through and we can see their past fights and stuff like that. So here we go, boys. We got Sezinando versus Daniil Donchenko. So this is a striker versus grappler matchup. This is the Ultimate Fighter finale. So, to be honest, boys, I don't really care about the Ultimate Fighter finales. Like, I never care about them. I way prefer Dana White's Contender Series over these Ultimate Fighter finale fights. But at the end of the day, we still can potentially make money on them, right? Which is the most important thing. So, yeah, we'll speak about this one, boys. This is a striker versus grappler matchup, as I said. This dude over here, this Brazilian, is a striker. And he's a grappler. Sezinando is a grappler, and that's evident by his tape. And then we got Donchenko, which is a striker, Muay Thai striker. So, yeah, I've done tape study on these guys, and honestly, the line's wide, man. Like, I'm looking at the line. I'm going to get the lines up now, and again, we'll look through that together. But, yeah, I saw the line that was like minus 235 to Donchenko, and I was like, I think that's kind of hype based on his performances on the Ultimate Fighter, because I watched his fights on the Ultimate Fighter and he looked good, right? He looked good. He won both of them by finish, both of them by finish. They're not actually listed on his official record right here, but we're going to get them up actually. That's annoying that they're not listed on his record. Like, what the fuck? Is there any way I can see it on Tapology? Usually the Ultimate Fighter fights are listed on the record, but they're not shown as like official fights, but they are still on their official record. So let me but yeah, he fought on the Ultimate Fighter, guys. I'll see if it's on Sherdog. He fought on the Ultimate Fighter. He fought Matt Dixon. He finished Matt Dixon, which was a good finish, in my opinion. Yeah, it's not even on Sherdog either. But yeah, he finished Matt Dixon in round 1, and he fought some other dude as well, and he ended up winning the decision. Again, it's not on his record, so I can't remember the guy's name, but he ended up fighting this other dude, and it went to a decision, but it was only a 2-round decision because he won both rounds, right? And he was pretty aggressive in those fights. You know, he was putting it on his opponents. And Matt Dixon's a solid wrestler, you know, for him. So for him to finish Matt Dixon in round 1 and not really ever be troubled with the grappling, I guess it's saying something. But man, I went back and I watched this guy's regional scene fights, right? Because at the end of the day, man, sometimes people just have good performances, right? It doesn't mean that is indicative of their overall skill set. You know, you look back at Cody Garbrandt against Dominic Cruz. It was just a really good performance. You know, I feel like if they run that fight 100 times, Dominic Cruz probably wins the majority of those fights. But on that night, Cody Garbrandt was the one who won, right? So it's not all about 1 or 2 performances. You kind of have to look back and see all of their performances. And I went back and I watched this guy's lone loss, right? I mean, he does have another loss, but it's one of the first fights of his career, right? His loss against Zanibek Ulu. Zanibek Ulu. Probably the best name I've ever heard in MMA history. But anyway, he fought this guy. This guy's not a good fighter, boys. I mean, let's go on his record. He's 14-12, right? Like, I mean, he's basically won the same amount of fights as he's lost. And this guy went to war with Donchenko. Went to absolute war with him. And he beat him in a war, right? He just outdogged him. And he ended up rematching him a couple of, 1 year later. And then it was kind of the same fight, you know. It was like a war. It went late into round 4. And then Donchenko was able to put it on him badly. He basically did the Stipe Miocic versus Daniel Cormier game plan, where randomly in round 4, he just found out that he could hurt him to the body. So Donchenko just hurt Zanibek to the body multiple times, put it on him badly, was able to take him down, take his back, and choke him out. But that was that was kind of like a close fight up until round 4. And then yes, he goes into the Ultimate Fighter and he looked good on the Ultimate Fighter. To be honest, he looked like a completely different person. Like he looked like a completely different person on the Ultimate Fighter than he did in this Niza promotion. So yeah, I don't know what to make of it. On the other hand, we got Sezinando, who is an out-and-out grappler, pretty decent jiu-jitsu. Not the best. It's kind of a low-level fight overall, guys. And honestly, man, I feel like this Sezinando guy has a chance to win. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to watch more fights of this guy because I only watched 2 fights of him, and both of those fights, I watched the Ultimate Fighter one, and then only one of his Ultimate Fighter ones, and then one of his regional scene ones, which ended in round 1. So I want to go back and I want to watch his loss. I haven't done that yet. It's early in the week, boys. But yeah, I want to watch that. And I just want to see how good he is at the wrestling, because if he can take down Donchenko multiple times, which I think he might be able to do, we could be looking at an upset here. And the odds are absolutely massive in the favor of Donchenko, as I mentioned, right? Let me bring the odds up here for you. So yeah, currently they have Donchenko as a massive favorite, minus 235. Here we are, boys. So we got Donchenko, if you can see him here. Here we go. Yeah, so minus 235 odds. Minus 235. All right. Minus 235 with the under 1.5 plus 135. I don't know about the under or over. It's kind of hard for me to say. Right now, it's a dog or pass. In my opinion, it's a dog or pass. I'm definitely leaning more to the underdog just because he's plus 200. So that's it, boys. We've done a lot on that fight, but let's move on to the next fight. So the next fight of the night, we got Alice Pereira taking on Montserrat Rendon. Now, when I first saw this fight, I was like, oh, shit. Is Alex Pereira's sister? Because I know that Alex Pereira has a sister that fights MMA. And I feel like she kind of looks like this girl. But anyway, it's not her. I'm pretty sure. I've done a bit of research. But yeah, the thing about Alice Pereira, so I was doing my tape study, right? And the thing about Alice Pereira is that most of her fights are recorded with potatoes. Most of her fights are terrible, terrible quality. So it's kind of hard to determine how good she actually is. She seems like a good athletic striker. She's basically a striker, guys. Pretty good timing. Honestly, she looks like she could be like a very good striker. But man, she's fighting the bottom of the barrel. I mean, look at her record. She's fighting girls that have got 1 win and 6 losses. And actually, this fight was flagged up. Bout has been flagged by Tabology for potential issues with legitimacy. So basically what that means is she fought an absolute can who shouldn't have even been in there, who isn't even belonging to go on her record. That's how bad she was. Just like Hosanna Eni. Boys, she fought this girl, right? Hosanna Eni. She finished her in 11 seconds via ground and pound. And it is an insane fight. I don't know if you've ever seen... What's that thing? iCarly. Have you ever seen iCarly? What is it, iCarly? Where she fights MMA? I'm thinking of something else. It is. She does fight MMA. Basically, boys, I'm thinking in my head, and let me know in the comments if you know what I'm talking about. In my head, right, I have a vivid picture of some soccer mum, some overweight soccer mum fighting MMA and getting absolutely knocked out brutally in round 1 by a legit MMA fighter. It definitely wasn't iCarly. That's like another childhood memory. But yeah, basically, this is what happened with Alice Pereira. She fought Hosanna Eni in probably the worst fight I've ever seen in MMA history. I mean, look at this chick. She looks like kind of pretty. Like she shouldn't really be an MMA fighter, right? Esmeralda. She's fought 2 times. Crazy. She fought after Alice Pereira fight. I don't know how the hell she fought again. And she got knocked out in 24 seconds. Boys, this fight is so bad that I'm actually going to show you it. This fight is so bad, we're going to watch it together. Watch this, boys. This is fucking bad. We're going to... So this is Alice Pereira walking out, right? She looks fucking in good shape for her age, man. She's like 19 years old. She's athletic as fuck. Look at this fight. This fight should not be sanctioned. I don't know how this fight is legal. Let's watch this fight, boys. And this is what happens when you're a professional MMA bettor and you have to tape study fights like this. It's a very interesting career. I've watched some crazy regional events. So look at this girl. First of all, just look at her. Look at her. She's standing there. She doesn't know what the hell she's doing. Why is she standing like that? First of all, she looks kind of out of shape. I mean, look at her midsection there. It doesn't look in great shape, does she? But anyway, let's watch this fight, boys. This is fucked. Look, she goes to try and tap her hand and she doesn't even know what she's doing. Look at this chick. Look at her guard. What the hell is going on? Look. Look. Look at where she has her hands. She's got her hands like here. She's looking there. It's like she's never had a fight lesson in her life. Watch this. Body kick, left hook, she's done. She is done. At this point, the fight is over. The fight was already over. But the fight is over now, and we're 3 seconds into the fight. Watch what happens. Instant takedown, big slam, and then the fight's over. Like, what the hell was that? Let's watch that one more time, boys, from the jump. Fight starts. Fight's over. She just didn't know what to do. She literally does not know how to fight. Like, she doesn't know how to look. She's on the floor there. That's not a real fight, you know? That's not a real fight. That was an easy win for Alice. But anyway, boys, that wasn't a real fight. I don't know what's going on with this chick here, but that wasn't a real fight. But anyway, boys, Alice Pereira, she does look good. Outside of that fight, she hasn't really fought anyone. But honestly, like, passing the eye test, you know, the test with my eyes, she does look good. She's fighting Montserrat Rendon, who, in my opinion, is not UFC level. She is 36 years of age. And Alice Pereira, I believe, is 19. Let me see how old she is. Yes, she's 19 years of age. She was born in 2005, and Montserrat Rendon was born in 1989. So we're talking maybe one of the biggest, this could be the biggest age gap in MMA history. We've got a 36-year-old fighter taking on a 19-year-old fighter. We're talking a 17-year age difference. That is absolutely massive, boys. Absolutely massive. I'm going to pick Alice Pereira in this spot. It's tough to be super confident because she's making her debut and she is going against someone who does have a UFC win in Tamares Vidal. So, I mean, that was a split decision. But at the end of the day, man, she went to a split decision with Tamares Vidal, who isn't really UFC level. She went to a decision with this split decision with this 4-4 Brittany Cloudy girl. Split decision with this 2-1 girl, Christina Pettigrew, coming like a Harry Potter name. She's 4-3, that chick now. So it's not like she was 2-1 and she went on to do big things. She's 4-3. The 4-4 chick, Brittany Cloudy, who she lost to, is or who she beat by a split decision, is now 6-6. So I don't think Montserrat Rendon is UFC level at all. She's very slow in her strikes. I think she's going to try and make it gritty. But at the end of the day, man, I think Alice Pereira is way too skillful for her, even at 19 years of age. Alice Pereira is a big girl and she's more athletic. And I just feel like she's going to walk forward and get hit with big shots and not really know what to do. And that's really it. That's my breakdown. Alice Pereira at the moment is like -150, and I don't think it's the worst bet of all time. One thing I will say, boys, is that, again, as I said, these are early predictions. These are early picks, right? I'm going to go through the whole card. But if you want my actual picks and predictions and my bets, then sign up to my service. If you sign up to my service, you get all of my official picks, all of my official bets as I place them, right? Not early in the week predictions, because my prediction changed. Last week, early in the week, I picked Kai Bahayo, and then later in that week, I changed to Nasadina Marvov, right? And I reserve the right to change my opinion because I'll do more tape study. I'll let my thoughts marinate. I'll think about things deeper. I'll look at the lines more. The market will move more, right? And I might change my mind. If you want all of my actual bets, because picks and bets are a completely different thing. The link is in the bio, sublaunch.com/lucrative MMA. You won't regret it. You'll cash massive with us as we've been doing all year. 120 units profit, boys. 120 units profit. It's almost not seen before in the entire MMA industry. And I've done it on tracked, tailable lines. But anyway, let's move on. We've got Alessandro Costa against Alden Coria. Now, I have to be honest, boys. I haven't done tape study for Alden Coria yet. And I'm sorry about that. I just not done it because I've been busy, and not even busy. It's just very early in the week. You know, I'm recording this on a Monday. So it's pretty early in the week, boys. So Alden Coria coming into this fight with a record of 10 wins, 3 losses. Alessandro Costa coming into this fight with a record of 14 wins and 4 losses. And Alessandro Costa is the veteran here. You know, Alden Coria is making his UFC debut. I'm looking at his record now. Paris Moran is a decent fighter. He knocked out Paris Moran in round 1. That's a pretty decent win, especially at flyweight. It seems like he might be a bit of a finisher. Lost to Alberto Trujillo. Okay, a bunch of losses back here in 2022. So I need to look into this guy. I honestly don't know if he's good or not. Alessandro Costa, on the other hand, is a pretty solid fighter, man. I won't lie. Alessandro Costa is a decent UFC level flyweight. I mean, he had a very, very bad performance. Well, a pretty bad performance against Amir Albazi, but that was his UFC debut. He had a good performance against Steve Erceg. You know, that was 1-1 going into round 3. And then the Kevin Borjas fight, that was probably his best performance of his entire career. You know, that was a great performance. So the guy's on a bit of a roll now. He's fighting this UFC debutant. This is short notice as well. So he was meant to fight Edgar Chairez, but this Coria dude's stepping in. I don't know how short notice that is. I'd like to look into that a little bit. But yeah, unfortunately, I can't speak too much more about it because I haven't done tape study, but I will do. Next fight is Zach Reese versus Sedriques Dumas. So this is a booking that had already been made, and now the UFC is rebooking these guys. So the UFC really wants this fight to happen for some reason. Zach Reese coming into this fight with a record of 9-2. Sedriques Dumas coming into this fight with a record of 10-3. Currently, Zach Reese is a -233 favorite with the underdog price tag on. Sedriques Dumas coming back at +198. Basically, plus 200. Can't lie, man. I can kind of see why Zach Reese is a big favorite. I mean, he's going to have a massive advantage in round one. And we've seen Dumas clipped in round one multiple times now. And outside of round one, Zach Reese is going to have a chance to submit him probably in every round because he's got a decent guard. And Sedriques Dumas is a bit of an idiot. And I could see Sedriques Dumas being the type of guy to get submitted via an armbar, which Zach Reese has already done in under the UFC banner. If you guys remember his Dana White's Contender Series fight against, who was it against? Oronov. He got an armbar in round one, right? One thing I'll say about Zach Reese is that he might have a poor chin. I mean, the Bekaev fight, he got knocked unconscious from ground and pound, and Cody Brundage was kind of similar. You know, he got knocked unconscious from a slam. So, I mean, that's happened 2 times now. You have to have a look at it and say, all right, you know, he might have a bit of a shaky chin. Like, it's kind of hard to determine whether he does or not. Sedriques Dumas, on the other hand, I mean, what can we say about this guy? I mean, this guy's a criminal, you know, like this guy has been in and out of jail. He's getting arrested every so often, all the time. I don't know what you want to call it, but the guy's getting arrested a lot. He posted up the other day on social media that he's got like $13 in his bank account, which is kind of crazy, man. It's a massive reason I don't want to ever be an MMA fighter or a boxer or anything like that. I train the sport for fun, but man, could you imagine being a UFC fighter, putting all your time and effort into becoming a UFC fighter, and then you've got $13 in your bank account? Like, that's insane. That is absolutely insane. I'd rather kick back, watch the sport, love the sport, train the sport, watch these guys fight, make money on them. I mean, I've had bets that have been upwards of $70,000. You know, I've won over $70,000 on Peyton Talbot, Neil Magny, Kai Bahayo, like multiple people. And these guys, you know, they don't even have 1% of that in their bank account, some of them. It's sad, honestly. Like, they deserve way more. For the amount of time and effort they put into fighting, like, they deserve way more. You got to train multiple times a day. You have to be on a diet. You don't have much freedom. It's crazy, bro. You beat your body up. Yeah, it's a sad situation for some of these UFC fighters, but it is what it is. You know, if you're smart and you use your social media right, you can definitely make a lot of money from the UFC platform. But at the same time, if you really want to be the best UFC fighter in the world, it's very hard to then focus on social media, you know? So it's kind of a double-edged sword. You got to get people around you, but people don't want to help you without getting paid, being on money to pay them. Like, yeah. Anyway, boys, rant over. But man, shout out to all these UFC fighters. Respect to you. Hopefully you guys get the money you deserve. But I'm cool on this side, just betting on the UFC. So, yeah, Sedriques Dumas, I mean, this guy's going for it. You know, like I said, the whole point was to say that this guy's broke, got no money in his bank account, and he's going for it mentally, right? He's being arrested. He's got court cases looming over his head. He's got zero money. He's got an ankle monitor on. I mean, if you go to his Instagram, you see some of his training montages, training footage. He's hitting the pads with an ankle monitor on. I can't pick this guy, man. At the end of the day, boys, I've been betting on MMA for like 10 years consistently now. And something I've noticed is that you need to pay attention to mental red flags, right? Because green flags, I don't really pay attention to. If someone says they had a good training camp or if someone is looking in good shape, I don't pay much attention to that, right? Unless they're in terrible shape for all their career and now they're in good shape, you know. But in general, green flags, I don't pay attention to. Everyone should have green flags. You should be looking good. You should be firing on all cylinders. You should be in good shape. You're a UFC fighter. You should think you're going to win. You should be mentally confident, whatever. When you see red flags, that's when you can take a big step back and say, all right, this guy may be someone to bet against, right? When people start talking about retirement, when people start talking about injuries, when people pull out of multiple fights, when people have court cases looming over their head, when people are on social media screaming all the time on Twitter, like Sedriques Dumas talking about he's got no money, like these are red flags. And we oftentimes can use those red flags and bet against him. So I like Zach Reese in this spot. I think he's going to get it done, not only because he's hits way harder on the feet, more dangerous on the feet with his strikes, more dangerous with his submission game, more proven in the UFC, better wins in the UFC, at least on par, right? I mean, Duško, Todorović, Julian Marquez, I'd say that these are probably better wins than Cody Brundage and Tallulah. I guess it's probably the same, to be honest, actually. Like, Julian Marquez and Cody Brundage are the same person, right? They fought each other. It was 50-50, whatever. And Duško and Tallulah, I'd say Duško's a better win. So, yeah. Anyway, very comparable wins. And I just feel like everything outside of the octagon is also going for Zach Reese. So I'm picking Zach Reese here. I'm picking to get him an early finish, probably a submission. Probably he jumps into Zach Reese's guard and gets armbarred or triangled. Or maybe he tries to take down Zach Reese and he gets guillotined. That's what I'm seeing. That's what I'm seeing in this fight. Next fight, we got Jesus Aguilar versus Luis Gurule. So Luis Gurule laid an egg in his last fight. He lost to Ode Osborne, but we've just seen Ode Osborne in a 50-50 fight with a fighter who went 50-50 with Alejandro Pantoja, the champion, in Steve Erceg, right? Ode Osborne had a 50-50 fight with Steve Erceg. Erceg had a 50-50 fight with Pantoja. And Ode knocked out Gurule. So, you know, maybe it was like kind of like a bad sign that he got knocked out, or it was a bad look initially. They got knocked out by Ode, but Ode seemed to have improved lately, you know, doing well in that Gurule fight as an underdog, and then obviously doing great in the subsequent Steve Erceg fight again as a massive underdog, biggest underdog on the card, I think, or at least one of them. So, yeah, maybe I'm going to give him a pass for that. That was his UFC debut as well. You know, that was Gurule's UFC debut. So we know what happens in the UFC debut, guys. Like, oftentimes you lay an egg, you just have a bad performance. And we can see here that, you know, this guy was coming in undefeated. He'd never lost a fight, right? And then he takes on Ode in his UFC debut and he gets knocked out in round 2. So I'm going to give him a pass for that. I do actually think he's a good fighter. The issue is, boys, he's a pretty big favorite, you know? So let's have a look at the odds together. He's minus 205 odds and Jesus Aguilar is plus 175. I mean, Aguilar's not a great fighter. He's basically like guillotine or bust in a lot of his fights. But his guillotine's very good, man. And I think he could probably get it on anyone. One thing I will say is that it's kind of tough to trust Gurule after what happened in his last fight, because like this is his second fight in the UFC. He's got no UFC wins. Jesus Aguilar does have UFC wins. He's got less UFC experience than Jesus Aguilar. He's older. He's coming off a knockout loss. And he's just way more unproven. So I can't be saying he is deserving of the minus 205 price tag. And as I always say, boys, it's very important to understand that when we're betting on MMA, right, we are betting on where we believe the value lies in the betting line. We're not betting on who we think is going to win. In fact, sometimes we bet against who we think is going to win. We bet on who we think is going to lose the fight, right? I've done it time and time again. I bet on Alonzo Menefield at plus 500 odds against Umar Sy. I cashed massive on that. Me and all the members in my VIP cashed massive. Did I think that Alonzo was going to win? Actually, I thought Alonzo was going to lose, but I still bet on him because of the odds. Please understand that, right? So while I'm saying Luis Gurule is probably not deserving of a minus 205 price tag, I actually do think he's probably going to win this fight. At the end of the damn day, man, he's just like a way better striker. And that's really it. You know, he's just a better striker. He's got more volume. He seems solid all round. So I do think he's going to win the fight, probably via decision. But man, I'm not confident in like his price tag at all here. The over 2.5 rounds, minus 145. Again, I'm not confident in that. Aguilar could potentially submit him. What's Aguilar via submission? Let me see Aguilar via submission odds. Is that out yet? If Aguilar via submission odds is out, I wouldn't mind having a little poke on that because, like I said, all right, it's not coming here yet. But if you can get something like plus 600 on a submission line, I wouldn't hate it, guys. But that's just like a pass fight for me. Maybe I'll do more tape and look at it. But at the moment, it's a pass fight. Next fight we got is Tatiana Suarez versus Amanda Lemos. So interesting fight here, boys. Obviously, we got Tatiana Suarez coming back off a UFC title loss, and just like the guy in the main event, Diego Lopes, they're both coming off a title loss. And I mentioned this in one of my main event videos yesterday. And by the way, if you haven't seen it, go and watch it. And one thing I'll say, boys, is that I'm uploading a video a day now on YouTube. So make sure you're subscribed. If you can go over to that subscribe button right now and click subscribe, it will do me a big favor, because 50% of my viewers don't subscribe. YouTube told me 50% of the viewers. That's a lot of effing viewers. So yeah, go and click the subscribe button now, please, boys. It's completely free, and you'll also get one video every single day from me. So we're about to take over the YouTube game. I want you to be involved, and I'm also gonna put a lot of money in your pocket, because if you're getting a video a day from me, you already know that it's gonna be good times. But anyway, boys, Tatiana Suarez coming back off her UFC championship fight loss to Weili Zhang. And one thing I wanted to mention that I was saying before I went on the subscribe rant is that when fighters are coming off a title loss, oftentimes they underperform in the next fight. I don't know why. I have a theory, right? And we can go into theories, but I'm not going to bother. I'm just going to tell you that I have looked at this time and time again over the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years, right? And I have seen that when fighters are coming off their title loss, they often underperform. Doesn't mean they're definitely going to lose. Doesn't mean they're definitely going to underperform. It means that they often do. Just like a UFC debut. It's a phenomenon in MMA betting, right? A lot of people are not talking about this type of stuff, but it's a true phenomenon that is real. So just pay attention to that, right? So Tatiana Suarez coming into this fight with a record of 10 wins and 1 loss. The only loss coming in their last fight. And then Amanda Lemos coming into this fight with a record of 15 wins and 4 losses. So if we look at the odds together, we got Tatiana Suarez as a massive favorite, boys, like huge, one of the biggest on the entire card. Where we're at, Tatiana Suarez, yeah. So she's a minus 425 favorite with the underdog price tag on. Amanda Lemos coming back at plus 355. So yeah, that's a huge line. Huge line. One thing I can say about Tatiana Suarez is I know for a fact that this girl has been training very hard, and I can tell you that because I've literally been in the same gym as her almost every time I've been in there, she's been in there. So that's Extreme Couture. So I've been in Vegas for the last 2 months, and I've been training at Extreme Couture, and I've been seeing Tatiana Suarez in basically every single time I've been in there. Husband or boyfriend, Patchy Mix, also trains at that gym, and he's also been in there. So yeah, look for Patchy Mix to have a great bounce back after his UFC debut loss, because I mean, that guy's training every time I went to Extreme, he was there. And I don't think it was a coincidence. Like, the guy's just always in it. Like, he's either in the practice or he's doing his own thing. I've seen him hit pads on his own, train on his own, do core work on his own. But then I've also seen him obviously sparring at the pro practice. So the guy's just always in the gym. And so is his girlfriend, Tatiana Suarez, So I know that she's putting in the work here, but it doesn't mean anything. Amanda Lemos is putting in work as well. We can be sure of that out there in Brazil. So yeah, this is a striker versus grappler matchup again, like the first fight of the night. We got Tatiana Suarez as a wrestler, grappler. Amanda Lemos basically is a pure striker with some submission skills, right? It's kind of a tough fight for me to break down because, boys, like, I always look at things for a betting lens, right? And at the moment, for a betting lens, Amanda Lemos is one of the biggest underdogs on the card, and I can't agree with that, man. I can't agree with that. I mean, Tatiana Suarez has clearly lost a step in her athleticism and her overall game over the last couple of years. I mean, I bet Weili Zhang against Tatiana Suarez as an underdog. And a lot of people are disagreeing with me on that one. A lot of people bet on Tatiana Suarez there, and she got dominated. I watched that fight actually today again, and she didn't have any moments outside of one takedown in round 1. And honestly, the takedown was kind of lucky. It very much reminded me of Brendan Allen's takedown against Nassourdine Imavov, where they just randomly found themselves in close range in a body lock position, and then she kind of capitalized on it. Brendan Allen kind of capitalized against Imavov, and Suarez capitalized against Weili Zhang, right? And then she actually got not reversed, but Weili Zhang was able to get back up to her feet, bridge, roll, get back up to her feet, and then take Tatiana Suarez down. Suarez jumped for the guillotine, and Weili Zhang was able to easily get out of it. And outside of that, she basically just beat her up the whole fight, landed big shots on her, big straight hands, and she out-physicaled her, which is basically Tatiana Suarez's entire game. I mean, boys, for her whole career, Tatiana Suarez was this monster who would just run through you, right? Take you down, great wrestler, submit you, smash you. I mean, some of the performances she had, like her performance against Carla Esparza, I mean, these performances are legendary performances in women's MMA, but I just don't think she's the same fighter. Look, she fought one of the best women's MMA fighters ever in Weili Zhang. So on one hand, I do give her a pass, but on another hand, I bet against her in that fight. So I was expecting her to have a poor performance. And that was because even in fights where she won, like Jessica Andrade, and I bet her in that fight, I don't think she looked 100%. I feel like the injuries that she's had, which have plagued her career, by the way, if you don't know Tatiana Suarez's career, she has been plagued by injuries, and not only injuries, I'm pretty sure she had cancer as well. Let me just check that, because I don't want to speak wrong. If she didn't have cancer, it was some bad illness. But let me have a look. Yeah, she had thyroid cancer, bro, back in 2011, So like, 2011 or 2012. I mean, this girl's been through it all, And it's kind of sad to see, because I really feel like if she didn't go through, and she had a load of injuries, like knee surgeries and stuff, and her knee completely popped open in her last fight. Like, that was crazy. Anyway, boys, what I'm trying to say is that this girl has been through the ringer, And it's very sad, because I honestly feel like, and I tweeted this out while my bet was winning, I really feel like if Tatiana Suarez fought Weili Zhang 5 years ago, she would have beat her, But she's been through so many injuries. She's getting older now. I mean, let's scroll down and see her age. I know Amanda's getting old, but look, she's 34 years of age now. Amanda's 38, right? But she has not been through half the battles that Tatiana Suarez has in terms of her injuries and illnesses and cancer and stuff like that. So I feel like Tatiana is almost a shell of her former self. Now, even a shell of her former self is still an elite fighter, and she was still pushing to the final bell in that Weili Zhang fight. She was trying to get takedowns. She just kept getting reversed. And man, Amanda Lemos, she doesn't have great takedown defense, but she's a very strong girl. She has good balance. And I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that Amanda Lemos is able to reverse some of this Tatiana Suarez takedowns just like Weili Zhang did. I mean, I go back and watch that Amanda Lemos fight against Virna Jandiroba, and Amanda Lemos was out physical in Virna Jandiroba at a lot of points in that fight. She looked like the stronger woman. The issue was Virna Jandiroba is just way higher level at jiu-jitsu, and she's just got that Damon Jackson leech type game where if she gets hold of you, you ain't getting her off. Even though Amanda was able to reverse and take her down and stuff like that, she just played in the grappling for too long. And basically, she ended up losing via armbar in that one after almost getting rear naked choked in the second round. So I kind of feel like the tale of the story might happen again. I think it's going to be eerily similar to Amanda's last fight and Tatiana Suarez's last fight. I'm actually outright predicting Suarez to go for a takedown and get reversed here. Maybe she gets a takedown first of all, but I think it's a big possibility that Suarez tries to get a takedown. Amanda's too strong and reverses it, right? But I do think Amanda might fuck around on top position for too long, get reversed herself, and then get submitted by Suarez. I could also see Suarez guillotining her when Amanda Lemos is just stupid and doesn't disengage from the grappling. So it's a tough one for me, boys. A really tough one. I gave you a long, in-depth breakdown, so I hope you took something away from it. In terms of the actual final prediction, I'm just going to say this now. I might take a one-unit shot on Amanda Lemos. Amanda Lemos via decision. I looked at that earlier, boys, and it's plus 600. And I'm like, damn, are you really crazy? Like, I would make Tatiana Suarez a minus 180 favorite in this fight, minus 190, minus 200. I wouldn't make her a minus 425, right? And like, what did I say? If we think the odds are wrong, we have to bet against her. So I'm almost obligated to play Amanda Lemos at plus 355 here. Amanda Lemos via decision is plus 600. On some other books, we're probably going to get plus 7, plus 800 odds, which is crazy. Suarez is a tough girl. We've seen time and time again. And man, I could definitely see Amanda Lemos like reversing and just staying in top position and staying safe, or, maybe stopping a couple of takedowns and clearly winning on the feet. She's the much better striker here. Amanda Lemos is a way better striker than Tatiana Suarez. So look, boys, I don't really care about outright picks and predictions. I'm going to say Amanda Lemos just because I don't want to be a pussy and say Suarez is going to win, but I'll bet on Amanda, whatever. I'm going to pick Amanda here. Like I said, I do think Suarez should be a favorite, minus 200 or something. So technically, I'm picking Suarez. If I'm saying she's a favorite, that's literally me picking Suarez. But whatever. I think Amanda Lemos has big value to her line. I may bet her myself, and I think Amanda Lemos via decision is a good play. Look, the most likely scenario here is Suarez goes out there and guillotines her, right? That is the most likely scenario. She wins via wrestling or grappling. But I think that the odds are wide. And boys, if you listen to me, I'm always going to give you my predictions for a betting angle. Please understand that, because I got a lot of new viewers and I don't want you guys misunderstanding the way I look at lines. The reason I'm a professional sports bettor and I earn my money from betting on sports, and MMA has made me financially free, it's because I look at things for a betting angle and not from this guy's going to win. Like, I don't care about that, right? That's casual stuff. That's nonsense. We look at things through betting lenses only because we're bettors, right? We're not only MMA fans and we don't care about betting. No, we're betting. Some people are going to get it. Some people are not going to get it, is what it is. The next fight we have is Claudio Puelles versus Joaquim Silva. So Claudio Puelles coming into this fight with a record of 12 wins, 4 losses. With Neto BJJ, Joaquim Silva, very similar record, 13 wins with 5 losses. Currently, they have Claudio Puelles, the -120 favorite. So he was the underdog. Now he's flipped the favorite with the underdog price tag on Joaquim Silva coming back at +100. This is a weird one for me, boys. I don't have a strong take in this one. I'm sorry. I wish I did for you, but I don't have a strong take. I mean, on the one hand, I can see Silva, landing some big shots on the feet. But on the other hand, I can just see Claudio Puelles playing the matador and just staying away from him and, maybe like landing some body kicks and, basically just do that. I mean, Joaquim Silva's a good fighter, but he's getting older now. So he's 36 years old now. And I just feel like the career trajectory is heavily in the favor of Claudio Puelles, and that could dictate the fight here. So Claudio Puelles coming off a fight with Seziando, where, to be honest, he looked good, man. That was a close fight. He looked good, and Seziando has gone on to do some pretty solid things in the division, and I feel like he's a much improved fighter. So Puelles kind of showed me a lot in that fight. Obviously, the Hooker fight was a bad performance, but Hooker's a top 10 guy at the end of the day, man, even when he fought him. Like, Hooker's looking like he might be back in the title picture soon, if he gets 1 or 2 more wins, whereas people were thinking he was completely washed back then. Actually, Hooker was only a -150 favorite. That was a massive bet from me. I bet on Dan Hooker in that spot. But yeah, I just feel like career trajectory-wise, Puelles might get this done. I feel like, he could probably take down Joaquim Silva because Silva can get taken down. And outside of a guillotine, he doesn't have too much. Like, I don't think that his guard game is that good, even though his name is Neto BJJ. I mean, the guy's basically a striker these days, even though his name is Neto BJJ. He's got a good guillotine, but outside of that, I don't think he has too much to offer, man. So I feel like Puelles was able to take him down, body kick him on the outside, and just win a clean decision, man. But I don't know if I'm going to bet it, because at the end of the day, Silva still does carry a lot of power. Claudio Puelles is tough to trust because some of these fights he's just kind of underperformed in and he hasn't looked good. And at the end of the day, if we look at Neto BJJ's fights, I mean, the Drakkar Klose fight was very close. Clay Guida fight was kind of close. Not really, though. Arman Tsarukyan fight, not that close, but he did hurt Arman Tsarukyan badly. So this guy's on a bit of a run now. But yeah, I don't know. Losing to Vince Pichel, losing to Ricky Glenn by knockout in round 1, that's not good at all. Like, I think both of these guys are kind of inconsistent, but I just trust Claudio Puelles a little bit more at this stage of his career to do a little bit more and basically, just end up winning the fight just by doing a little bit more. Next fight we got is Jose Medina versus Duško Todorović. So Jose Medina coming into this fight with a record of 11 wins, 5 losses. Duško Todorović coming into this fight with a record of 12 wins and 6 losses. Currently, they have Duško Todorović as a massive -300 favorite with the underdog price tag on Jose Medina coming back at +250. So yeah, I know what you're thinking. Let's bet on Jose Medina. Let's fade Duško Todorović at +250, but honestly, boys, I can't do it. I mean, I don't really see what Jose Medina can do to Duško Todorović now. I mean, on the feet, it's going to be close. And in the wrestling, Duško's just a much better wrestler, takedown artist, submission grappler, just everything, It seems like Duško's destined to win this fight, boys. -300, I don't know if it's that intriguing. To be honest, I do want to watch a couple more fights of these guys because I kind of rushed tape study on this one. Like I said, boys, this is basically my early picks. If you want all of my picks, as I've said before, sublaunch.com/lucrativemma, join my service, join my community, join somebody who's a professional MMA bettor, not just a random picks guy. And then you can see everything you get behind the scenes. But for now, this is early picks before I actually lock in all my bets and stuff like that. I'm going to pick Duško Todorović. I'm going to say that he can just out-grapple Jose Medina. And yeah, that's really what it comes down to, in my opinion, Yeah, I don't really have too much more to say. Next fight is Quang Le versus Santiago Luna. Very, very interesting fight. Santiago Luna looks like he could be a legit fighter. Santiago Luna coming into this fight with a record of 6 wins and 0 losses, making his UFC debut against Quang Le, who's coming into this fight with a record of 9 wins with only 2 losses. Currently, they have Santiago Luna as a -125 favorite, with the underdog price tag on Quang Le coming back at +105. So, boys, this is a very good fight. Santiago Luna is a very interesting prospect to me. I actually like him as a prospect. I think he could be good in a division. I think he could do, go on to do good things in a division. And I think he could be legit. He's 21 years of age, only born in 2004. Somehow, not the youngest guy on this card who's got Alex Pereira. But I honestly think these two guys are prospects, man. I think Santiago Luna and I think Alex Pereira could actually be good prospects in the UFC. Now, it's always tough to trust people making their UFC debut, as we've seen time and time again. Patchy Mix, we mentioned him earlier. Aaron Pico not so long ago. But then sometimes you can trust people like Axel Sola last week, like Ante Delia last week. So you never really know how it's going to play out. Now, I've gone back and watched this Santiago Luna's tape, basically all of his fights, boys. And he's a pure grappler, right? So he came into the game as a pure grappler. He's got massive wrestling accolades and he's a pretty decent grappler as well. At least he's improving in his grappling. So it's funny because I can see a massive improvement from his first fights when he was 18 years old to now when he's 21 years old. Like the improvements have been crazy, boys. Like this guy's making drastic improvements, mainly with the striking. He's a much more comfortable and better striker now. Now, I have seen him hurt. I can't remember what fight it was. It was one of these fights, boys, obviously. I can't remember what one it was, but boys, he got hit with a spinning elbow and almost knocked unconscious. And then he got taken down after that. And man, he got brutalized on the ground. Actually, I think it was his amateur fight against Jonathan Wilson. I'm pretty sure it was the Wilson fight. Was it the Wilson fight? I think it was the Wilson fight where Wilson hit him with a spinning back elbow. So it's the only time he went to a decision. And he kind of got mauled on the ground after getting hit with that elbow. But outside of that, he's basically been flawless. Obviously, sometimes he's not looking great, but he's basically very, very strong, right? He's able to take these guys down, dominate from top position. And Quang Lee is kind of similar, man. Like when we go back, look on the Quang Lee side, he also takes fighters down and dominates from top position. That is his game. I'd say right now at this stage of their career, Quang Lee's probably a better striker, but I do feel like Luna's improving, and Luna's such a wild card. Like he might come out and look like the better striker here, even though during tape, he doesn't look like the better striker. And that's because he's 21 years old. So he can make drastic improvements with his age. One thing worth mentioning is that Santiago Luna is coming into this fight on 12 days notice, right? So that's definitely something, making your UFC debut, fighting the toughest guy you've ever fought. By far, Quang Lee's a legit fighter, man. Like I said, he likes to go to the wrestling more. We bet on him in his last fight when he took on Gaston Bolanos, and he ran through Gaston Bolanos. He made it look easy, and we bet on him there. Even the Chris Gutierrez fight, that was a tough debut for him, but he did kind of well in that fight, like at least early. So it's a tough one for me, boys, because I really feel like, first of all, they kind of do the same thing. They want to wrestle and grapple you. But second thing is, like, I really think Santiago Luna could be something special. Like, he potentially could be. But it's just too early to say. Do I want to take the risk and play him just because I believe in him? Maybe. I'm going to think about it, boys. Like I said, I'm not making any full bets or any actual predictions here. I'm going to watch more tape study. I'm going to speak to one or two people who I highly respect their opinion, and we work together, originate in MMA. I'm going to look at some interviews. I'm going to look at some weight cuts. I'm going to look at some Instagrams. I'm going to take my time to think about it. I'm going to see what other bets I make. Maybe there's another angle I can take on the fight. Maybe an over or an under or a decision line or a submission line, whatever. But I do want to play Santiago just because I believe in him. I think that he could be the truth, but at the same time, man, he's still got a lot of flaws because he's only 21 years old, So do I really want to play him? Favorite odds in his biggest step up of his life, in his UFC debut, coming in off 12 days notice. I mean, it's a tough ask, but I do think skill-wise he can do it. I just feel like if he does it, it's probably going to be a competitive fight. So let me just look at the odds for Santiago to win via decision, because I don't think he's going to knock him out or submit him, although it's not impossible. Santiago decision is plus 200 on Bet Online. I'd rather just take the money line. I mean, I've seen Santiago ice people on the feet, and I have seen Quang Lee get iced against Zhao Long in round 3. So, it could happen here. But yeah, my pick's going to be Santiago Luna for this one because I believe in him, but it's definitely a tough fight for the young lad, because Quang Lee's a legit fighter. Next fight is Alexander Hernandez taking on Diego Ferreira. Alexander Hernandez coming into this fight with a record of 17 wins and 8 losses. Hot off that Chase Hooper knockout. Diego Ferreira coming into this fight with a record of 19 wins and 6 losses. So currently they have Alexander Hernandez, a minus 125 favorite with the underdog price tag on Carlos Diego Ferreira coming back at plus 105. Man, this is a tough fight. Really tough fight for me to call. I mean, Alexander Hernandez, he fought Chase Hooper, got an early knockout there. It was like 1 or 2 seconds left in round one. I'm not going to say he hit his win condition because he could have won a decision as well. But I think he's kind of lucky the fight didn't go into round 2 and round 3 because we know what happens to Hernandez when it goes late, especially against a pressure fighter. And Chase Hooper was looking better on the feet there, in my opinion. Like Chase Hooper was putting it on him a little bit, walking him down. Alexander Hernandez only landed 2 real shots in that fight, and one of them knocked him out. So I don't know whether we can take much away from that. Chase Hooper's been iced in round 1 before. He's been dropped multiple times in the UFC. Like Alexander Hernandez in round 1 was always going to have a big chance to knock him out, like he does with everyone. But I kind of feel like Diego Ferreira might get it done here, man. I kind of feel like Diego Ferreira might get his grappling game going. If he gets his grappling game going, he could just completely dominate Alexander Hernandez. I think Alexander Hernandez has got great takedown defense, but I don't think he's great at jiu-jitsu, man. And Ferreira is a much better scrambler, and I just think he can reverse him. He's way better at submissions. I think he's way better on top. I think if they grapple, there's only one man who's going to end up, in the driver's seat, and that's going to be Diego Ferreira. And then on the feet, it's kind of close as well, And then I feel like Ferreira's got a little bit more dog in him, maybe. I don't know. It's tough to say because when you look back at that Gamrot fight, and you look back at the who's the fisherman? Who's that fisherman who got head kicked by Kevin Lee? So annoying when I forget names. Oh, Kevin Lee knocked out with a head kick. Bang! Head kicked him. I'm gonna have to search it up. I don't even need to search it. I can just check here. Sorry, boys. I'm professional. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, let's have a. Oh, fuck! I had it on the tip of my tongue and I forgot. Let's have a look. Gregor Gillespie. Yeah. If you go back and look at the Gregor Gillespie fight and then you look at the Gamrot fight, like you could potentially question his heart a little bit, but you can say the same for Hernandez in some fights. So look, boys, I don't have a strong read on this one. It's another one where I'm going to take some time to decide, but I'm going to go with Diego Ferreira at this point in time. I'm going to go with Diego Ferreira. I'm going to say that he can hang on the feet. He can land big shots on Alexander Hernandez. He could even get the better of the striking, perhaps. And if anything happens in the wrestling or grappling, I think that Ferreira is going to be the one that comes out on top. So yeah, I like Ferreira a little bit in this spot, but I don't know whether I'm going to bet on it or anything like that. The next fight we have is Kelvin Gastelum versus Dustin Stoltzfus. Kelvin Gastelum coming into this fight with a record of 19 wins, 10 losses. Dustin Stoltzfus coming into this fight record of 16 wins and 7 losses. So both of these guys have a lot of wins and also a lot of losses. So Kelvin Gastelum is the big favorite in this spot, minus 250 odds, with the underdog price tag on Dustin Stoltzfus coming back at plus 210. Strange one, boys. Strange ones. I feel like Kelvin Gastelum should win. He's like, I guess he's a level above. He's fought way higher level of competition. But I don't know if we can trust Kelvin Gastelum against someone like Dustin Stoltzfus, who's a big guy, who's a strong guy, who's going to try and take down Kelvin Gastelum and who's pretty durable. He's pretty fucking durable, Dustin Stoltzfus. It's very hard to finish him. You have to hit him with the perfect shot. And if you don't, it could probably be a close fight, man. So I really think Dustin Stoltzfus has a path to victory with the takedowns and grappling. But ultimately, boys, I can't trust someone like Dustin Stoltzfus to put together a 15-minute game plan over a veteran like Kelvin Gastelum, like I believe he has to do. It's going to be tough to finish Gastelum, right? Maybe you can get him with like an arm triangle or something. But if we go back and we look at Dustin Stoltzfus versus Nursultan Ruzabayev, that fight was as winnable as any fight that Dustin Stoltzfus has ever had in his career. And he threw that fight away by losing top position, by rushing the grappling. And he just looked poor in that fight. Like, it's not that he looked poor because he still had a very, very close fight with a pretty decent fighter. But Ruzabayev, if he doesn't knock you out in round 1 or early round 2, he ain't got much. And he ain't got anything in the grappling. And he was out grappling Dustin Stoltzfus at points, So I can't think that he's going to be able to do that to Kelvin Gastelum. I feel like this is going to be Kelvin Gastelum. I feel like he's going to win the fight. But I feel like Dustin Stoltzfus will think to himself, I could have won that fight. I just made some mistakes. Just like the Ruzabayev fight. I think it could be almost the same as that fight. If it's not, I think Kelvin Gastelum can crack Dustin Stoltzfus. Like, I think Kelvin still hits pretty fucking hard. He's pretty fast. And if you're not like scaring him with power early, like Jared Cannonier or Joe Pyfer did, I think you're there to be cracked, man. And Kelvin can still crack. So I feel like Kelvin can get Dustin Stoltzfus with a big shot in this fight. I don't know whether he'll finish him because Stoltzfus is very tough, but I think he can land a couple of shots. Sure, why not? And maybe even hurt him, rock him, wobble him, drop him, or maybe finish him. So I'm going to go with KG here, Kelvin Gastelum for the win. So the next fight we have, and only a couple fights left, boys. We've got Jared Gordon versus Rafa Garcia. And boys, before we get into this one, I want to remind you guys once again, please hit the subscribe button. I also have a free Telegram community where I do cash giveaways to random people in there, as well as betting predictions and picks that you don't see on YouTube. You can go and join that Telegram community completely for free. The link is in my bio. If you want my actual bets and everything that I'm placing every week, all the bets that I place as a professional MMA bettor, again, the link is in my bio, sublaunch.com/lucrative MMA. You can sign up there. You definitely won't regret it. We've been cashing big this year. It's been a crazy year, boys. Shout out to everyone in my VIP. Love you guys. It's been a crazy year, honestly. Like 125 units of profit in 2025 is, yeah, it's almost unheard of. But let's keep on cashing. And I feel like we can do it with Jared Gordon versus Rafa Garcia. I'm picking someone kind of confidently in this one. So Jared Gordon has a record of 21 wins and 7 losses. Rafa Garcia has a record of 17 wins and 4 losses. Currently, they have Jared Gordon a -220 favorite with the underdog price tag on Rafa Garcia coming back at +185. So what do we think of this one, boys? I mean, Jared Gordon, I've said it a couple of times this week on my YouTube channel, but I'll say it again. Like, in my eyes, he's 5-0 in his last 5 fights, but he's actually 2-3 on his official record, or 2-2-1. So if we go back all the way to his 5th fight, it was Paddy Pimblett, and I think he won that fight, even though he didn't get scored for him. One of his fights in that time was Nasrat Haqparast. He got that fight scored against him via split decision. I thought he won that fight. And then the other 2 fights he won via knockout in round 1. Thiago Moises, and who else did he knock out in round 1? Mark Madsen. I think this guy's on a bit of a streak. And it's kind of crazy because he's 37 years old and he's looking the best he's ever looked. So this guy, he's a late bloomer, you know. He's kind of been doing his thing for years. I don't think he's much better than he was 5 years ago, but I don't think he's much worse either. Like, I really feel like he's been in his prime for like 5 years now. And Rafa Garcia, on the other hand, you know, I don't know if he's probably in his prime now, but he's up and down. He's up and down. I'm picking Jared Gordon this one, boys. I'm picking Jared Gordon quite confidently. I think Jared Gordon can, you know, do everything that Rafa Garcia does, but do it a little bit better. So what I mean by that is I think he can take down Rafa Garcia a little bit more than he can get taken down. I think he's a bit better at jiu-jitsu. I think he's a bit better of a striker. I think he's got more volume, pace, pressure, UFC experience. I think he's got better cardio. Like, everything that Rafa does, I think he can do it better outside of maybe pure boxing. But even then, I'll probably give the advantage to Jared Gordon. So I like Flash in this one. I like Jared Gordon. I like Jared Gordon via decision. I like the over 2.5 rounds. And that's how I see the fight playing out. Rafa Garcia did not look good in his last fight, in my opinion. Back on rewatch, I gave Vince Pichel the 2nd round, and I gave Rafa Garcia the 3rd round in a pretty back and forth round at times. You know, he started off well and he rocked Vince, but outside of that, man, Vince was kind of, you know, doing his thing and jabbing him up a little bit. So, man, I feel like he fought a 40-year-old in Vince Pichel, who basically, I think, retired after the fight or should retire. And he had a close 29-28, whereas Jared Gordon's going out there and having close 29-28s with Paddy Pimblett, the next title challenger. Nasrat Haqparast, someone who just beat Esteban Ribovics. I mean, Jared Gordon and Rafa Garcia are not on the same level, in my opinion. And while I think this is going to be a competitive fight, I think one guy is going to come out on top, and that is Jared Gordon. So that is my prediction in that one. And I guess that might be my favorite spot of the card at the moment because, you know, judging by the way I've broken that down, it seems to be my favorite spot. And then another spot I like is Rob Font versus David Martinez. So I'll tell you exactly what I like. Rob Font is coming into this fight with a record of 22 wins and 8 losses. David Martinez, 12 wins and only 1 loss. So Rob Font is currently a -140 favorite. David Martinez, the underdog price tag on him, coming back at +120. So this is a great fight, boys, and a fight that I'm very excited to talk about. Now, I did go in depth on this fight on one of my earlier videos. You can always watch that. You know, I go in depth on my early UFC betting picks show. Lots of cool fight footage there. I'm speaking about fight footage, and I'm speaking about specific sequences, and you see the fight footage show up. So, you know, you can go and watch that video if you want an in-depth breakdown. But basically, I feel like David Martinez has a good chance to win this fight. I think he has a good chance to rock Rob Font multiple times. I think Rob Font has somewhat got lucky recently with Kyler Phillips gassing out crazily after winning round 1. You know, Rob Font cleanly lost round 1 to Kyler Phillips via grappling, and then he gassed out badly. And, you know, something I will say is that David Martinez could shoot a takedown or 2 here. I know people don't think it, but he potentially could shoot a takedown or 2. On top of that, when I say he got lucky, G Matsumoto fight, you know, in my opinion, he lost that fight, you know, and he basically won the fight on a cheap fake glove touch, which wasn't honorable at all. But even outside of that, I still think he lost the fight, but he got awarded a split decision win, you know. And I think it should have been a loss. So, you know, in my eyes, he got a bit lucky in his last two fights. And I think David Martinez presents the type of style where he might not get lucky against. David Martinez reminds me of Marlon Vera in the fact that he can land some kicks. He's got very hard shots. He's a good, would I say he's a good finisher? Yeah, he's a pretty good finisher, man. Dave Martinez is a very solid guy. He's got a massive step up in competition here, so I do have to say that. But ultimately, I just feel like Dave Martinez has the skills to beat Rob Font here. I think he has the durability advantage to a massive degree. I think that Rob Font can always get taken down, so that's always on the page, even though Martinez is more of a striker. And I also feel like the in and out movement of Martinez might trouble Rod Font. Rod Font's going to walk forward and try and pressure. But I think if he tries to pressure, which, by the way, he needs to do, so it is a good thing. But if he pressures, he could walk onto something big here. And we've seen Rob Font hurt multiple times in his career, especially in recent years against Jose Aldo, Marlon Vera, like multiple fights. This guy's getting rocked, wobbled all over the gaff. It's a miracle. It's a minor miracle he hasn't been knocked out yet. And I think Martinez could be the... I think Martinez could do it, you know, and if he doesn't do it, I think he can just win the fight on damage. So I'm picking David Martinez here. I'm picking an underdog. It's a tough prediction because Rob Font is a very high level fighter, and I do respect his skill set. But at the end of the day, boys, he can't keep winning. He's 38 years of age now. Like, at some point, he's going to lose. He should have lost his last fight. Kyler Phillips gassed out in round one. If he didn't, he might have won 29-28, you know. He gassed out way less against Vinicius Oliveira, in my opinion, even though he still gassed out there. I mean, you're talking an 11-year age difference. David Martinez is ready for this fight. You know, UFC Noche, they're putting him in there against someone who could massively, massively boost his credentials. I mean, if you win over Rob Font, you're next in line for a title contenders fight. You know, and I feel like they've got big hopes for David Martinez here. And that's it. I'm picking David Martinez to win this fight, boys. So the main event of the evening, we got Diego Lopes taking on Gene Silva. Diego Lopes coming to this fight, veteran record, 26 wins and 7 losses, with Gene Silva coming to this fight with a record of 16 wins and only 2 losses, undefeated in the UFC as well. So Gene Silva coming into this fight as a big favorite, minus 260 odds, with the underdog price tag on Diego Lopes coming back at plus 220. Very, very good fight, boys. And like I said, if you want a long breakdown on this one with specific sequences and fight footage referenced and shown to you, please go and watch my UFC betting picks show. It's on my channel already. I'll link it after this video, actually, so you can go and watch that one. I go in depth on this one, boys, and I tell you multiple betting angles, but I'll just keep this one short and simple. I think Diego Lopes has the chance to give Gene Silva his toughest test yet. I ultimately do believe that Gene Silva is going to pass that test, though. I think he might have to go through some hairy moments. I don't think it's going to be easy, you know, but what I will say is that Diego Lopes gets hit hard a lot, and especially early, man. Like, Diego Lopes got rocked multiple times in round 1 and round 2 against Alexander Volkanovski. Not multiple times, sorry. He got rocked once in each round. So he got rocked multiple times, 2 times, but 1 in either round. Once in round 1 and once in round 2. And I just feel like someone like Gene Silva, if he rocks you, it's not just going to be a little tap like Volkanovski rocked him, but it wasn't that bad. I think Gene Silva can put the hands on him badly, and probably in combination as well, where Volkanovski was kind of like one shot and he kind of like stood his ground, because Volk was definitely a bit worried of the damage coming back at him in that fight. You could tell he wasn't fighting scared, he was fighting calculated, but Gene Silva's not going to fight like that. Gene Silva's going to walk forward into range. He's going to believe in his durability like Volk necessarily didn't, or he's a smart fighter. He knows his durability is going, and I think Gene Silva is going to touch up Diego Lopes. Now, the thing is, if he doesn't knock out Diego Lopes, I kind of feel like Diego Lopes is going to come back in the middle to late rounds and maybe hurt Gene himself or land something himself, because, man, what you need to beat Gene is elite cardio, an iron chin, will to win, and you need to be dangerous. And that's exactly what Diego Lopes is. You know, I can't say that Alexander Volkanovski has that. You know, I can't say that Lerone Murphy has that. I can't say that Aaron Pico has that. Like, most of these guys in the featherweight division do not have the skill set to beat Gene Silva, in my opinion. But I do think Diego Lopes has it. I still think, though, that Gene Silva will win the fight. Just because you have the skill set to beat someone doesn't mean you are going to beat them, right? Because fight is a fight, and you might be able to beat the opponent, but you might not beat them on the day, right? And that's kind of how I feel about this fight. I think Diego Lopes is going to make this a scrap. I think it's a war. I saw that the GTD was plus 300. If you don't know what GTD means, it goes to decision. So this fight to go to a decision is plus 300 odds. I mean, that's crazy in my opinion, boys. Now, look, am I predicting a finish inside the distance? Gun to my head, I guess so. I mean, Diego Lopes just eats too much shots, and we still don't 100% know the cardio of Gene Silva in a war, right? But I still think the plus 300 is crazy odds. You know, I was kind of saying the same thing with that Amanda Lemos fight earlier. Like plus 300 is definitely crazy odds. I don't know what I'm going to do with this fight. I don't know whether I'm going to bet it. It's just something I thought mentioning to you guys. I'm always trying to give you nuggets and, you know, knowledge and wisdom. And that's something I saw where I thought, you know, the line might be off a little bit. So overall, I feel like, you know, Diego Lopes is going to walk forward into range. I think he's going to compete, but ultimately I am going to predict Gene Silva to get this win. Great fight though, boys. Can't wait for it. I will not be putting any money on minus 260 Gene Silva. I'll tell you that right now. Keep Gene out of your parlays. While he should win, I don't think he's worth the minus 260 price tag. He could go out there and make it look easy with a knockout. Because at the end of the day, Lopes has been finished before, albeit on the regional scene via gassing, but he has been finished before. But I think he's going to eat massive shots here. So, you know, there's multiple ways to look at this fight. I just wouldn't play Gene Silva. If anything, I would play GTD, goes to a decision at plus 300 with very small stakes. But boys, we don't need to listen to my last prediction on the main event because I just given you an hour's worth of prediction of all the other fights, right? So boys, before I go, I will say hit the links in my bio if you want to learn more about me, if you want to learn more about a professional sports bettor. But that's it. Good luck this weekend, boys. Hope you've enjoyed the show, and I'll see you tomorrow for a new video.